All right, we're live. Silver Doctors live on air. Excited to be back for a Friday wrap up / end of the week news coverage. So, with that being the case, welcome. My name is Mike, the co-host. Got my better half here, Mr. Half Dollar. Mr. Half Dollar, how you doing this afternoon?
Doing good today, Mike. A lot of stuff going on as usual, so a lot of stuff to get into here after we welcome everybody from the chat.
Exactly. So a lot of things to cover. So let me acknowledge a couple people for taking time to join us this afternoon. As always, phone lines should be good to go. Give us a call and let us know what's on your mind, or let us know in the chat and we'll get you involved. So with that being the case, we got Finance Freak. We got the powers that be are going to need a war to fix the economy. Even though war would be what they'll attempt to use, but I don't think it's going to fix. There's no such thing as a fix right now. Susan Selton, we got Silver Junkie. Got a lot of things there. It's hard to read. Pabar, we got Albert S. We got, Glenn, Dave. Okay, Chris is there. So I appreciate everybody taking time to join us. So let's dive right into it. Mr. Half Dollar, how do you want to kick this live stream off?
Well, let's start talking with Iran, but we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on Iran today. Just a couple developments. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sounds good to me. What do you got in your mind?
Well, first of all, here's just the simple question, right? Because how is the mainstream media spinning it as who stood down?
As of now, it looks like Iran backed down from what I've read or saw or heard.
Mike, if I launch missiles and they land in your yard and then you do nothing... Who stood down, Mike?
Clearly, it's the person that received the attack. So, yeah.
That was just a side note that I wanted to throw out there. But here's my point, right? A lot of people are downplaying this, right? They intended to just miss everything, and it was really no big deal, and it was just a show of force, and it was done like that, because really they don't want to mess with this. But when you think about it, if the reporting is true, over 50 people were trampled at this guy's funeral procession, Soleimani.
Yeah.
And there were like 1 million people at this funeral procession. I mean, this is like, when you talk about like when they do that Hajj or whatever it's called, when they go to Mecca and they're going around, I mean, it looked like that,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's just no big deal. Some, 2-bit guy that we just whacked. I don't think it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Couple reasons I think that all of a sudden we have instant world peace. And it's funny how quickly that's turning out of the news cycle. And what they are focusing on is this downed airline. There's going to be so much spin and propaganda around that. I don't even want to start looking into that. But couple of reasons that I'm thinking of right here, Yesterday, a report came out that was saying that China's ready to sign this deal. They're going to be here from the 13th to the 15th, and on the 15th, it's on.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Then just today, we're seeing, President Trump, after his rally last night, said, we might not be signing it on the 15th. It might be a little bit later than that, but it's coming, and it's going to be a great deal. So, one of the questions is, and you had brought this up, right? Like, is all of this newfound, like, the crisis is over just to buy a little bit more time to get this phase 1 trade deal signed? That's a very interesting point there and something to consider. The other thing to consider, and this is what I think, right? I mean, I was getting to it with people on Twitter. This is so divisive. The country is so divided. Like I've said before, and I still say, I do not think the country's ever been as divided as we are right now over this Iran issue. So I do think that President Trump might have seen this, right? And you hear people like Ron Paul saying, I do not trust Trump on Iran. You see people like Paul Craig Roberts saying, this is a stupid mistake that could start World War III, right? These are very respected, influential, important people. So it's kind of like he has to walk it back because he's about to lose a huge percentage of his base by instigating any kind of war in Iran like that. So those are just a couple of the things there. One is that it could be on hold until post phase 1 trade deal signing, and 2, there could have been miscalculation in thinking that there's more support for this war than there actually is. And in fact, I think that this would have sparked massive protests in the street if we would have actually engaged in a war. So those are my thoughts there, and then that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about with Iran today. Any thoughts that you wanted to add?
All right, so you gave us 3 points, and so I had something, so I got to see if I can remember them all. So the very first one in regards to postponing to this trade deal, the big issue with postponing, in my opinion, is that if you let a week go by, 2 weeks go by, it's going to be hard to then now begin attacking or firing or whatever. So I'm assuming they're going to, and also it looks like the House has restricted the ability of Trump to do any type of war type responses without their approval, which basically says is that the House predominantly Democratic led, is willing to continue their division amongst the political realm and place that of more importance than national security, if it is our responsibility to respond to being attacked, ahead of their personal interests in this impeachment process. So if Trump responds by launching anything or doing anything, the House will say, here's strike 4. This is the third or fourth thing we can cause to impeach you. You've deliberately violated, yada, yada, yada. So once again, just more division, as you mentioned, and just more chaos because we just got attacked supposedly, but yet we didn't respond. But the trade deal is next week or a couple days from now. Yeah. More distraction stuff, man.
Yeah, those are interesting points, and you make up a good point about the House voting. So, technically it would have to go to the Senate, obviously, But interestingly, Rand Paul, right, Republican senator from Kentucky, said that he would support this this resolution, well, not a resolution, this proposal from the House.
Yeah.
Another senator, I can't remember his name, that's a Republican senator. So, this is quite the pickle. This is really quite the pickle, and I think it forces people to make decisions on Iran in an election year when this is like, they really might not want to be doing this.
Yeah.
So those are some good points there. So I think we can move on from Iran until, Sunday night when missiles start flying again.
Sunday. So between now and Sunday, expect something. Yeah. So like the thing is, we're only 10 days into the new year, and there's already a lot of things worthy of being addressed right now to better understand what's going on, because nothing truly makes sense to me. Like the Dow Jones just hit an all-time high. I saw it about 29,000, and we're at complete chaos right now. This is interesting, man.
Yes, it is interesting. And, I grabbed the chart and I set up the tweet and everything that I'm going to put in my article tonight, because it hit 29,000 between the minute of 10:07 and 10:08. That 1 minute is when it hit 29,000. And at exactly 10:08 is when President Trump fired off that tweet. But he doesn't watch the stock market, right? He doesn't watch the stock market.
So I didn't get a chance to see his tweet. What did he say?
Well, actually, it said it looks like it could hit 29,000 today. So actually, look is kind of like a derivative of watch. But I'm going to put that in for my weekly wrap and talk about the Dow Jones.
Yeah.
Here's the tweet. I got actually the tweet as a link I can send you right here.
All right, go ahead.
So this was tweeted out 1 minute after the stock market hit that 29,000. And said, okay, so he didn't say look. It just says today it may hit 29,000. And it did, right? It did 1 minute before he sent out that tweet.
I got you up here.
So, he could have been writing it at 10:06. Between 10:06 and 10:07, the stock market hit 29,000, and then he hit send at 10:08, right? Because he's got, big thumbs, right? I mean, it might not be easy because it was sent from his iPhone, right? And he's got stubby thumbs, but they're fat. He's got fat thumbs. So, but anyway, so that was just interesting there. And of course, gold and silver, they were hit hard after when we were talking, right? And we were doing the live kind of play-by-play on Wednesday when he was addressing the nation.
Yeah.
And then, gold and silver just got hit hard, and the pressure continued to come. So, and stock market straight up. Oil's under $60 a barrel. So the night the missiles were flying, oil was over 60, and now we're at like 59.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So watch this. So for those that I'm going to zoom in, just because as you were talking, I just glanced at the tweet and started reading it. So it says 11,000 points gained in the Dow in the 3 years since the election of President Trump. So right then and there, I remember during the whole campaign trail talking about the bubble, stock market is at an all-time high and da-da-da-da. And he's taking credit to 11,000 points gained under his presidential stewardship. It says today it may hit, so which it did, has never happened before in this time frame. So he's touting about how fast the equity, the Dow Jones, has reached an all-time high under his watch. So he's basically owned this great recovery that we're experiencing, and therefore I wonder, will he own the collapse when it corrects to what some people say it has to correct, because it can't go up forever. And so, will he own it going down is going to be the question, or will he pass it on to the president after him if that comes to the case?
Yeah, this is going to be tricky. This is going to be interesting to watch. Either way, so that'll be good there.
Now, so before we move on, let's check with the chat. I see a couple things highlighted. So low blood pressure says the mainstream media told to shut up gold was rising too much.
Yeah.
And then it says, Eric C. says, Rouhani rounding up loyalists, 90 plus so far. Gateway pundit picking it up, as I said yesterday, trading favors. And so a lot of people are of the mindset this whole Iranian back and forth is a direct diversion from something else that's going on right now, considering the fact that Trump talked big but didn't respond. Now it's peacetime. A plane was shot down out of the sky in Iran or came down, or however they're going to play that. So a lot of people are probably going out there a little bit looking for something to blame outside of what's going on. So I like how people are thinking outside the box on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. So, I mean, the cat's been let out of the bag. There's no doubt about that. Mike, so my daughter and I drove, we took a little road trip and drove to Toledo, Ohio last night. We tried to get into the Trump rally. So I wanted to just talk about a few of those observations because it's interesting. So would you like to hear about this,
Yes,
Mike?
I'm definitely curious. Go ahead.
Okay, so, I mean, these are just some random thoughts of mine, right? Now, people don't like this, right? People think I'm anti-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump, right? I just think the government can either get in the way or out of the way, and they should always get out of the way before doing other things, right? And I'm anti all politicians. It's not just Trump, right? Because I think that, anyway, we don't have to get in that. But here's just some random observations, right? Because I always talk about how he's a movie star, right? Like he's a rock star. And, we're from that era in the early 90s with the big band rock concerts, right? When you're filling up these motor speedways and you got 100,000 people and all this and all that. The feeling that I got was totally like I was going to a rock concert in the early 90s. That is the feeling I got. Like, even like, how like you got the real concert shirts inside, but outside you got all the bootleg shirts.
Yeah.
Mike, I kid you not, there were 500 vendors selling bootleg MAGA hats and T-shirts and all this and all that. I mean, it was like, and they were walking back and forth, slinging these things. And, I actually overpaid for a beanie for my daughter. I bought this beanie for $20, and then some guy's walking down, he's selling it for $10. I'm like, oh my goodness, there we go, right? No, the price of everything, the value of nothing. So that's definitely me there. But there were a ton of vendors there. Another interesting, just a little tidbit. This is like a regional thing. Like, I don't know if you remember, this was like in Times Square for New Year's Eve. Domino's Pizza was selling pizzas for $30 a pop, right? Last night, people were walking around selling pizzas for $5 for a little 10-inch pizza, right? So I was like, that is pretty interesting because I'm sure people would have paid more because it was cold. I had on a T-shirt, a hoodie, a zippered hoodie, a winter jacket, and a beanie, and I was still cold out there. So it was just interesting because my point with this is this Trump rally brought up this whole like ad hoc market, and it was just very interesting and fascinating to watch. The people selling all the Trump paraphernalia stuff, people selling food, people walking, selling like barbecue sandwiches and stuff like that. Cause they had like food trucks around. I mean, it was literally like you were going to a rock concert. We stood in the line. We got to about probably 500 people in front of us before we couldn't get in. We got cut off about 500 people. There were probably 20,000 people who did not get in. I mean, that's what impressed me the most, right? He definitely has fired up this base, right? Because I'm talking, you're talking my daughter, she was the one that convinced me to go. But, you're talking about school kids wanting to go. You're talking about the elderly wanting to go. You're talking about old men that could barely walk into the very back of the line. And they were like walking after we got there. So they had a really long way to walk because we got there at 4, right? And we never got in. But just as far as Trump firing up his base, that is definitely real there. So that is interesting dynamic. Another thing, there was minimal protesting, right? There were maybe 100 protesters, but I don't even know why they were protesting anyway, because, anybody in that rally has already made up their minds, right? Another interesting note, instantly, now I haven't been to other Trump rallies, so I can't attest to this, but instantly there were all these F Iran t-shirts and buttons, and it's like, those are fresh off of the presses from just this week, because this is his first rally in 2020. So I found that kind of fascinating. No doubt he was firing up the base. No doubt he does fire up the base. So any thoughts on that or any questions on that?
So, a couple questions. So in your opinion, you're seeing support and a firing up of his base supporters, young and old. And so in your personal opinion, what exactly are they coming to see? Are they coming to see the rock star Trump, or are they coming to see the politician Trump, or are they coming to be entertained? Because I've watched some rallies, and he, other than saying the same thing, bashing people, mentioning Obama's horrible economy, mentioning Clinton, tend to say the same thing, and he'll talk a little bit about the local activity. I opened up manufacturing plants in your community. I'm the reason, all that bragging stuff. So is that kind of the same thing he did again?
I think there's two things going on. One, I think it's the entertainment, and they're going to see a rock star at a rock concert. I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I think that these people actually think that, they actually support him, and his supporters actually think he's doing all these great things, right? I mean, you can see that they truly do believe this, right? So it's a combination of both. Because remember, the rallies are free. You don't have to pay to attend a rally. And it's actually genius because it sends you text messages. And so you get millions and millions of people that you can instantly text and stuff like that, right? For his campaign. But, I think it's a combination of both because you don't have to pay for it. And they give out unlimited tickets. It's just how early are you getting there to see if you can get in or not.
Yeah.
But by giving out those unlimited tickets, they have a massive, database of phone numbers that they can use to, rouse the crowd up a little bit more even there. Did I even answer that question?
Yeah, you did. Now watch this. One thing I want to put out there to the audience. We got about a little bit over 100 people so watching. And as always, if you're joining the back and forth, don't be afraid to donate a thumbs up. As well as give us a call. The phone lines are available. And let us know what you think about this whole, Trump, the topic we're on now. So I'm curious via those that are tuning in. I guess the primary premise of what Trump ran upon was to drain the swamp. And so that's kind of what everybody, I think, is jumping behind, assuming that he's draining a swamp. And so I'm curious to see via those that are watching, supporters or non, thumbs up, do you see or have you recognized a draining of the swamp? And thumbs down if you have not seen any draining of a swamp, depending on how you define swamp. So I'm curious to find out real quick in the chat. Thumbs up, the swamp is being drained. Thumbs down, the swamp is not being drained. Let's kind of see where that takes us.
Yeah, and a couple other things, right? Because the slogan is "Keep America Great," right? So it's not MAGA anymore. Even though I bought a couple MAGA hats, but I should have brought them with me because I was actually thinking about if I should just open the show.
Put the MAGA hat with a tin foil on top.
Yeah, I actually got the MAGA hats might have been last year's stock or last campaign stock because I got two of those for $10. Right, two of the MAGA hats for $10. That was pretty cool. Oh, that's the other thing, right? There was fire trucks rolling around, blaring the sirens and stuff, like that had traveled in there, waving flags and stuff. There were like this truck had this trailer set up like a parade float, and he was playing that song YMCA. Well, it was MAGA, and they had remade this song. So I mean, it was just an all-on party. There were airplanes flying around, circling around with the banners advertising things. It was very, very interesting, to say the least.
Okay, now as we're getting feedback from the community, I'm noticing a lot of. I would say it's a tie, and so I want to actually, as more people respond, and so it looks like the fake news. But when thumbs down, meaning he's draining the swamp, they're addressing the fake news. So it looks like the mainstream narrative that's already bought and paid for is what he's attempting to thwart because he's become such a Twitter rock star there. So I'm assuming the swamp encompasses the fake news media. So I would give him a thumbs up on that one. So the fact he calling out CNN is fake news and everybody else, that's interesting because we'll never get that from any other president. So one person said they're neutral. Go ahead.
And there's a jumbotron there so people could watch if they didn't get in. But you'll see the pictures, right? But that is not as many of the people as I was there because a lot of people just left because we left. Yeah. They were playing Guns N' Roses and they were playing Michael Jackson and these loudspeakers as you were getting closer. That was the actual Trump thing. And then low blood pressure brings up an interesting point, right? Did you check the vendors' licenses or their sales tax ID? That's the beauty of it, right? Because I love free markets and I love spontaneous markets, right? You know how I love yard sales and garage sales and stuff like that because it's the purest form, right? Of a market that there is. And I'm wondering, how is it that some people pay $10 for a hat and some people pay $20 for a hat? And the pizzas, right? If I was hungry, I would have paid well over $5 for a pizza. I would have paid probably $20 for a pizza if I was hungry and I was out there in the cold and people were buying them up. I don't think that, pretty soon that's not going to happen like that because I think food prices are going up. So that might be the last time we saw $5 pizzas available at a venue like that.
Yeah. Now, watch this. Here's another interesting thing of which we haven't touched on much because it's more solely in the political realm. But with the amount of resignations since Trump has entered. It has been extremely large, so 11 above just threw out a number here. I'm not sure if it's complete number or what, but it says over 4,500 people have resigned in D.C. since his election. So I do recall hearing a large amount of people not pursuing their goals of becoming lifelong politicians beyond what they've done. So, are they running from something or what? So I don't know, but that's interesting.
I don't hold hope that there's going to be these mass arrests and military tribunals and locking up the traitors and this and that. And remember, you serve one term in Congress and you have retirement for life, right? So it's not even really a big deal anyway. They can go on and do something else in their evil, nefarious ways. So, I think maybe by resigning like that, sure. I mean, the pressure's off them, but I don't think that anything's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting because, everybody's saying, well, just wait until his second term, right? That's when the swamp's going to get drained. And then, when the swamp doesn't get drained, the narrative is going to spin to, well, he's setting it up for the person after him to drain the swamp. So you just got to go with it. This is what's, you know what I mean?
He's setting it up for his son.
Yeah.
Afterwards, because his son is going to run.
Talking about moving the goalposts, right? Moving the bar. So it's always going to be moving the bar on that.
Yeah. Nah, that's interesting, man. So it's always good to get people's perspective because everyone has a different and unique way of sharing and voicing their opinions there. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Appreciate the participation. And so definitely makes the show a lot more livelier. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. So interesting. So Mr. Half Dollar, where else you want to take this chat this afternoon?
Okay, let's talk about jobs because the job report came out. So
no.
We can't have any more fun because we got to start talking about the bad news again, Mike. But the jobs report came out this week.
All right.
So, I don't trust the government's numbers, right? Because I think that the government lies to us more than they tell the truth. And I believe that the statistics are fabricated. But let's just take them at face value and talk with them at face value for a second. Government says that 145,000 jobs were created in the month of December. Now, here's a couple of the things that I want to point out. There's two things I want to point out. One are where we lost jobs. We lost jobs in three categories. Guess where we lost jobs? We lost jobs in mining, declined by 8,000 jobs. We lost jobs in transportation and warehousing, declined by 10,000 jobs. And we lost jobs in manufacturing, declined by 12,000 jobs. So this is not like what you would see in a booming economy. This is what you see in an economy that's moving into recession. So that's point number one. Then I'll let you get all your stuff in. Point number two is this. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is going to be important in a little bit too for another thing I want to talk about. All the way at the bottom, you scroll all the way down to the chart, right? To the household data, table B.
Yeah.
The very bottom right box there says youth unemployment 16 to 19 years old, both males and females. And it's saying that youth unemployment is 12.6%. 12.6%, right? And that's probably understated. I was working since I was 14 years old, right? And now, they make it hard. Like, even if you want a job, you got to get like a letter from your teachers in school. And there are so many hoops you have to jump through just to get a job if you're not an adult. But that's interesting. The youth unemployment is high. So, we got the youth that are, in my opinion, arguably being dumbed down, and they're not even able to get skills with such a high unemployment rate. So it's like, this is not a pretty picture for the future here.
Now watch this. As you're saying that about being dumbed down, it's been brought to my attention recently, especially over the last couple of weeks, me paying attention to certain events and whatnot and realizing and seeing actual kids that are not able to write in cursive. And so I've come across a couple kids where I asked them to write their name or signature or whatever, and some of them look at me like, I don't know how. And I'm thinking, like, you're older. And now I've come across some older people. They're like, man, I haven't wrote my signature in a long time. So literally, just to show how dumbed down the kids have become, they've removed the idea of writing in cursive from school. So if you can't sign your signature, then you technically won't take the time or effort to read whatever it is you're supposed to be signing. Therefore, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities, a lot of your freedom, and all that's tied into being able to sign your Johnny Hancock. So you can't do that, then what else exactly are you learning in school? Well, that's like first grade, second grade type stuff. As soon as you know your ABCs, you write in plain, then you write in cursive. So yeah, we've been dumbed down, to say the least.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I've got a great I've got some footage of yesterday that I'm going to put up in addition to a great interview that I did. That's going to be up either later on tonight or tomorrow morning. So be on the lookout for that because I got some interesting stuff about actually that topic right there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to see. But yeah, I mean, you make a great point. And I see it in my kids, right? Because we moved supposedly to one of the top 5 school districts and in the state here. And, it's like they're doing their homework in school. I'm like, why aren't you doing it at home? That's the whole point, to do extra. We got a call.
All right, we do have a call. Let's see. Or no, we had a call. Oh, I'm sorry. It must have been some. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's like it doesn't really matter unless you're going to like a private school that's really which is really drilling in a specific curriculum for a specific educational attainment. I mean, it's just with this standardized test and what do they call it? They call it core competency or something like that. It's like it's not our children are not being educated.
Yeah.
Right? And I've seen this for the last 9 years.
Yeah, it's the bare minimum of everything. Like, and once that whole right of the No Child Left Behind, a decade plus ago, it's basically like, especially the city of Detroit, the Detroit public school system, man, I've witnessed it over the last umpteen years. It is a complete. It is very unfortunate that parents send their kids to those environments, to those institutions, and the parents and the teachers, they're underfunded for the school system and they're underpaid. So what incentive do you have to really deliver your best when you're conscious of your paycheck being so small and incompetent and all? So you're not giving your best, man. And so it's unfortunate that a kid can't even read. Majority of kids graduate from high school in the DPS system can't even read at I think a 6th grade, 7th grade letter. 6th grade, 7th grade level that I saw in reports. So, and they go to college, and you're forced to go to college. So, yeah, you can't read. But
yeah, and the second time I was in college after the Army studying computer science, I saw it, right? You got people that arguably are not college quality in college, and they're just getting passed right through. In college, they're getting walked right through.
Yeah. So we have a call, I believe. Let's see what we got here. Hello, how you doing? What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Well, I'm just asking you to bring some over.
All right. It must have been a false call. But anyway, we keep it moving, man.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'm wondering when it's going to be like that, right? We'll have to get the guys that hold the lights for us. They're going to have to start screening calls.
Exactly. Hey, so watch this. Let's talk about the metals a little bit. What's going on with the price? I saw silver below $18. I think it was the last night or something like that. So what are we looking at now? Let me pull some stuff up because I'm sure people want to know.
Well, we're looking at 1560 gold right now. Of course, depending where you look, the price is going to be fluctuating just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at 1815 silver right now. So, I mean, the metals are looking okay. I think that the severe pullback, I think that this has been smashed down. I think that they've been smashed down. And, they have all the perfect excuse in the world for this recent smash because, hey, there's no more geopolitical risk, right? We started warning when Trump fired off that tweet December 26th about Iran. We started warning hard and heavy. We've been losing subscribers ever since. And all of a sudden on January 8th, the crisis is totally and completely over, right?
Yeah.
So, they have the excuse to smash those metals. They're just having a hard time keeping them down. If gold can close above 1250 or above 1550 again for the second week in a row, man, that's bullish there. That's bullish. And gold just hit an all-time high in euros like yesterday or the day before.
Yeah. So all-time highs everywhere else but here. So what does that tell you? So if you're sitting back observing the current economic conditions of around this world, around this planet for the most part, and gold is already at all-time highs and pretty much a lot of other countries, and we're not here. So is it manipulated or what? Is there some shady dealings behind the scenes or what? So take advantage of the opportunity because it's extremely cheap. Because think about if you were in Europe or in Australia right now, especially. You will be wishing that you can get your hands on some cheap metals as your currency crumbles, as your government looks to tax you. And then watch this. This is on a side note. Somebody reached out to me, one of the viewers of Rethinking the Dollar, who's an Australian stacker. And he was saying, hey, Mike, typically the spot, what was it? Something about the premium and the spot price. Now, when because metals, dealership sales are becoming problematic because they're running out of gold and silver at enough to actually sustain their business. So you know how when you look to sell some of your metals, you take a little bit of a hit because they charge you to sell it back to them. He's like, now they're giving you a premium now. So if you're willing to sell your metals, they'll pay you on top of the spot price. So no longer paying beneath the spot price, they're paying above because the supply is not as plentiful at your local mom and pop coin shops there. So and that's in an environment where obviously people are looking to take advantage of the fact that because of law, I wonder if the Australian laws passed where they're going to begin taxing things and cash limitations on what you can spend without having to do KYC and stuff like that. So a lot of things are happening around us. Go ahead.
Yeah, those are good points you make. And that's what I call premium creep, right? Because I do think that the physical gold and silver is in strong hands. Sure, it's sloshing around in the United States and there's plenty, but that's not the case all around the world. And on top of it, so how do you get it out of hands? Because people always want to buy gold and silver and people always want to sell gold and silver. But the point is if it's in strong hands, then yes, that's like why I like to watch 90% as a barometer, because just in September of 2015, premiums went to $6.49 above spot for 90%, right? When, a year ago, the refiners were melting it down and selling it off as cast bars, instead of selling it off as 90% silver coinage, because it was more economical for them to go through that extra step and sell it because nobody wanted silver at all at that point. Remember a couple months ago we were talking about you could get silver at spot, like $100 face value at SD Bullion. So, yes, that's just a market force kicking in. And this is just more that example of that disconnect between the paper market and the actual real physical market. A couple questions had come in directed towards us since we've been talking about gold and silver.
All right.
Looks like a Head and Shoulders is forming on silver. How long can the slam go on for? And I know you like Eagles, but I think you really like Chris Duane's Jesus Clears the Temple 10-ounce bar. So I guess there's a question for you, and there's just a couple general questions. Head and Shoulders. Now I'm not sure what the time frame is, so I think David would want to clarify which chart he's looking at. If we're looking at a daily chart here, I'm just looking at, we put in the all-important crucial higher low. Right? That's the very first step to the trend change. You have to have a series of higher lows. That comes first, and then you have your higher highs, right? So we could be on the very cusp of the trend change here because the trend has been down, right? We have been in that short-term downtrend ever since September the 3rd, I think it was, when we topped out at 1975 there. But I'm not seeing a Head and Shoulders on the daily chart. I'm seeing just choppy sideways action more than anything right now.
Yeah, and to that thought from Jason about Chris Duane's Jesus Clears the Temple 10-ounce bar, I'm not familiar with it, so I'll definitely check that out. And so I appreciate you for bringing that to my attention. So thank you for that. So we have drawn towards the end. Mr. Half Dollar, you ready to dial back, or you got something else you want to cover?
Ready to dial back. Just one more topic, just because this is kind of something that we were, and I lost my tab here. Okay, this was kind of something that we were talking about just a few minutes ago.
Yep.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. I'm sending you. Send me something.
Yeah, this is just from. Hold on, I got to get my screen. Okay, this is just from this morning, or from yesterday, actually. This is just something to talk about right here.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about this or if you even did a video about this.
No, I did not. Let me see. I see Taco Bell.
Yeah, Taco Bell. So Taco Bell, right? So there's a couple things we can talk about here because this ties into that youth unemployment thing because Zero Heads is trying to spin it where it's like going to be millennials getting these jobs. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But Taco Bell is announcing that they're going to be, later this year, the brand will be testing a $100,000 annual salary for restaurant general managers of company-owned restaurants in select locations.
Yeah.
So, basically they're doing this pilot program where they're going to pay people $100,000 to manage a Taco Bell. Just a couple thoughts on that. These are just random thoughts just about whenever companies try these things, right?
Yeah.
Every time I eat at Taco Bell, man, I tell you, that's the only place I eat at where I question if I'm eating actually food or not. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but sometimes I eat there and I don't actually think that I'm eating food. I think I'm eating something that's not food. It's so gross to me. But anyway, maybe if other people would agree or not, I'm not sure. But remember a couple of years ago, like some guy paid everybody $75,000 at his company in some company in Seattle, and then like apparently this guy had to step down because it like completely blew up on him. It was a total mishap. Then there was another thing where Starbucks was like charging people according to however they felt that they wanted to pay, but then they had to cancel that too because people just were not paying for it. Because you could pay nothing or you could pay extra. So every once in a while companies do these little things, and I would think that it's more of a publicity stunt than anything else, because how many restaurants are we talking about? There's definitely going to be other consequences. Just bumping someone's salary up to $100,000 doesn't come just with something we're going to do out of the goodness of our heart. Right. I just think this is interesting, and it'll be interesting to watch, right? Because it's like GM and Ford and all them talking about how they're going to be, doing all these tens of thousands of jobs, but when in reality we see they're cutting. So this will just be something interesting to watch and see how it develops, because they just announced that yesterday.
All right. So as you're talking, we got a call here. Let's get this call here. Let me make sure I got it online. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, guys? This is NYC.
Hey there. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
I'm good. I got a question for you guys. I'd like you guys think is on debt. And even though the average American, of age and even a little bit below is in debt, how would that play out when things get really bad? Like, what would be the position as long as people have these mortgages and loans and all this stuff, as they begin to get by everything? What will happen to all of these people that are in debt? How will that change, like, the dynamic of their living status and policy? And also, I hear a lot of people talking about the one-world currency and what they're rolling out. I believe that currency is really here and it's good. And that currency is, if you look at it, that's the one thing that all nations and all people are dealing with right now. Whether it be that currency or anything, is debt. Crypto and all the rest of that stuff, that's been around for a long time in the form of credit and debit cards, which is just debt. It's all digital and it's been there, They're just figuring out a different form to rule it out in. I'd like to know what you guys take on it.
All right, sounds good. So we'll answer that off air. Appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you. All right, Mr. Half Dollar. First thought there was in regards to debt being the majority of people are heavily in debt. How can people? What's the process of people making it through with all of this debt? What should they do with the debt? Should they let it ride out? And how will they be better off at the end, in a sense? And then the second question, I'm assuming you heard that as well.
Well, it was like very choppy, so I didn't get like clear of exactly what he was asking there. But the second one was, I did hear a little bit more clearly, was about, are we moving to like a one world currency basically? Yeah. And how's that going to be? Man, the debt one, that's a hard one, right? Because that's going to be an individual decision, and that's going to be one of those things where, what does a person do? Do they get all levered up on credit card debt thinking that, we're going to get this MMT or there's going to be some sort of debt jubilee, and what if there's not, right? And then there's some hard decisions there one way or another. And it's weird too, because people talk about, if people really want to bring down the banking system, would just stop paying your bills, stop paying your credit card bills and this and that. It's like there's things that people can do, but the problem is that if one person does it, then there's consequences for that one person, right? Especially if it's securitized or gets sued or whatever. If everybody does it, then the banks have a problem. Now, I'm not saying half dollar said incite a riot or half dollar said don't pay your bills or this or that. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying these are some questions that, yes, people actually need to think about these things, because right now I see all the hope is, like, for example, the college kids, right? They think that they're just going to get their college debt wiped out, right? So if that's the case, somebody could go to college, rack up all this debt, and instead of using it for the college, just go out and buy stuff, thinking that it's going to be erased. So that's one of those things where if you're right, works out. If you're wrong, you got a lot of legal and monetary problems, right?
Yeah, good point.
So that's a tough one. As far as the one world currency, we're going to see after that goes. My hope is that we will go. Well, it's not my hope. I believe that we will go back to gold and silver eventually. I think they're going to try and take us to, the digital, as you talk about, first. We'll have to see that one. But with all of this, like, like tearing apart of globalization and just sort of a return towards nationalism. The whole one world currency thing is kind of like on the ropes right now, because when everybody is mad at everybody and there's trade wars on multiple fronts and every country's just trying to pull back and take care of themselves. Now, how do you roll out a one world currency in that environment?
Yeah, good point.
The only way is with the true one world currency, which is gold and silver.
Right. Good point. So my thoughts there initially on regards to the debt. I actually had a conversation last night on the live stream about how to process this thought on debt. And so I believe the conventional financial advice died after the last great financial crisis of doing what was considered practical, saving, investing, all that stuff. To me, investing technically is gambling. I like how you mentioned that last other day. You're gambling unless you know exactly what you're doing and you're willing to take responsibility for your own funds. If you're turning it over to somebody else, you're going to be the one carrying all the risk, because whoever your fund manager is or your advisor is, or whatever they're doing, they won't reassure or insure whatever it is you've given them. So you stand to lose a lot. So my thoughts on debt is, and this is just my opinion, and so this is where I disagree with the Dave Ramsey 7 baby steps. Because that advice was pre-great financial crisis to me personally. It's still applicable today. Get some emergency fund. Do all the basic things, yes. But as far as your debts, pay off your smallest to greatest, but yet your greatest more than likely will be your house and any type of long-term debt that you probably won't be able to pay off, such as student loans. So pay the bare minimum on all that stuff. Free up some disposable income off your credit cards and all those small debts so that you can acquire assets that will appreciate, so that as things go haywire, whatever the assets you acquired that are undervalued will appreciate in value, while all those debts that you won't be able to pay back anyway will more than likely go belly up anyway, because you're going to be upside down on your mortgage more than likely. So paying off a house now, knowing that pretty soon the housing market is going to crash, you're put in $30, $40, $50, $100,000 and you're not going to get that back. So that's just my 2 cents there. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a man with an opinion. So do what you must with it. But yeah,
it's going to be tough, because it's a debt crisis that we're facing. So there's no easy way around this. And the bottom line is, there's going to be some people who thrive in this, but most people are just going to be destroyed by this. So this is a tough one.
Our last question, and we got a last caller here, and then after this call here, we'll answer it and then dial back officially. So, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing, guys? It's low blood pressure.
Low blood pressure.
Texas.
How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
Good. I wanted to get back to the debt thing you guys talking about. Like debt, it doesn't even exist. It's all it is a bank giving you something that's intangible, imaginary, digits on the computer. They don't even give you cash anymore when you buy whatever you buy. And you're buying something tangible. So you're promising to pay them something intangible for something tangible. I think you have a case for counterfeit, and you could maybe legally, you could go get some advice, legal advice. But I think it's a fraud. They're frauding you because they're giving you nothing for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. It's all like debits and credits on a computer screen somewhere. Somebody takes on responsibility, and the other person, the issuer, i.e. the banks, benefit from it. So, and if you're late on anything, they'll charge you a fee, or they'll just take your possession. So that's interesting. So that's our banking system. That's our economy.
Yeah, I think that's a great.
I want to give everybody financial advice, because I'm a financial advisor. Load up all your credit cards. Buy gold and silver and never pay them back, and then you can land and bury the gold, and they'll never come and get it from you.
All right, that's from low blood pressure. We appreciate you calling, my friend.
Oh man!
All right, guys, have a good day.
All right, be good.
I don't know if he's a financial advisor or not, so I would not assume that low blood pressure is a financial advisor, but I mean, maybe he is.
That's my first time hearing about that, so if he is, more power to him. But we're just a vehicle from two opinions, and I often have the people to share their opinion, so use that with a grain of salt. But anyway, go ahead.
That's right. It's I can't remember the point that I was going to make, but go ahead, Mike.
Okay, well, no, I was going to dial back right there. So, with that being the case, this has been a great live stream. I appreciate everybody that's participated. Go ahead.
Okay, I remember the point, right? Yes, he makes a great point, right? He makes a great point, but the bank's just not going to stand for that. They're not going to stand for that. So, even if he's right, and even if, there is some kind of like case, the bank's not going to stand for that. So, the government's going to support the banks and the banks are going to support the government. And then, there's no case. It's just going to get thrown out. It's kind of like gold and silver investors, right? We know that these markets are rigged. We know that there's an active price suppression policy, but we're not going to get compensated for that, right? So the government's just going to turn and look the other way because that's the official policy, right? The problem with all of this is because we've gone off the constitutional requirement for a bimetallic gold and silver standard, right? Yeah. That's the problem with all of this. So until we restore that, it's the wild, wild west out there. And it's basically, we might be in the wild, wild west, but we're like, the waiters and the bartenders and the butlers. We're not actually in the wild, wild west at the party. We're the ones that are working at the party. So that's just what I wanted to say with that.
All right, fair enough. So if that being the case, everybody has been great hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the back and forth. If you have, hit that thumbs up button beneath this video here, and then share this video here because once again, this is what I consider to be real talk, real news, other than the other fake stuff out there that they're reading off teleprompters. So if you're reading off a teleprompter, who wrote it and why and what are they trying to, what propaganda are they trying to promote? So always consider that. But that being the case, be blessed, be safe, having a good weekend. See you Monday. Of course, there's going to be news. Mr. Havdog's predicting on Sunday there's going to be some type of activity worthy of talking about Monday. So we'll see if that comes true. But be blessed, be safe. See you guys later.